All right, welcome back to the garage, you savages. In today's episode, we will be installing the Currie Anti Rock off-road sway bar. Now, why do you want this instead of your regular sway bar with quick disconnects like what I currently have right now? Well, it's pretty simple, really. You don't want a sway bar like this that isn't a spring, because it's not a spring. It doesn't give you any flex. And you don't want no sway bar because, let's just pretend that, here, we'll use this battery as an example. Here we go. Let's pretend the battery is your Jeep, right? So when you're off-roading, oh, this battery's going to shoot up. When you're off-roading and you get off camber, right, like say you're going through a section like this, right, where the hill is slanted this way, well, if you don't have any sway bar resistance, what the Jeep wants to do is it wants to roll over that center of gravity. And then if you have like a ledge or something on this side, then what happens is your suspension compresses even more on the downhill side and it uncompresses on the uphill side, so you lose traction, and then you only have traction here, and what ends up happening is you slide down into this hill if there is like an obstacle here or something. So what Currie did, and it's genius, hold on, is they made your sway bar a torsion bar. This is a spring. This is a rotational spring, right? This is tempered steel, and it's a spring. So it has enough resistance to prevent body roll, but not so much resistance that it doesn't act as a sway bar to prevent body lean. Okay, so let's get into how we do this. So you'll notice I have a winch on here. If you have a winch on your TJ, you're gonna need to take it off. So these bolts up here are T55 Torx bit, and then this bolt back here is a I think it's a 5/8 16 millimeter, same size. So once you take those off, what you're gonna want to do, I already loosened these up, so I wasn't sure if I was gonna shoot a video. You're gonna scoot this bad boy back, and now make sure it doesn't fall off so you don't rip your winch leads out. That would be bad. So let's leave it right there. Now what you're going to do is you're going to try and get these bolts back here. These little bastards are going to be kind of tight. So once I get those off, we'll start recording again. We'll disconnect everything and we'll get the install going. Alright, so getting this little fucker is a perfect example of having the right tool for the job. So this is where a ratcheting wrench comes in very, very handy. So you can just get right in there and just loosen this guy up. Because you're never going to get a socket in this angle, even with like a weeble wobble thing. It's never gonna happen. Alright, I'm gonna cut to taking this off here in a second. Alright, so I've created the unique problem for myself where the clearance to get this out when you loosen the bolt, I don't want to come out. So I'm using a piece of 1-inch bar here to create a lever, lift the body up, and then you can slide the wrench out and then take this bolt out. No problem. Fuck you, bolt. Okay. So now that all the bolts are out, the stock sway bar should just come right out of here, no problem. Minus the little, clearance issue with the leads for the winch. So we'll just have to be careful about that. No big deal. Maybe it is a bigger deal. Okay, how are we going to do this? Hold on. Haha, stroke of genius. We're going to lift the winch up, slide it out underneath it. So it's not too heavy. So we're going to do that. We're going to move this. Be careful not to Squeeze your fucking fingers in there. Maybe, maybe not. There it is. That's one side. There we go. And now, should just be able to lift this up. Minus stupid, idiotic things. Let's turn this out of the way. Put that up there. There it is. Ta-da! Get the fuck out of here. Maybe someone will want to buy that. Go to a new Lucky Home or something. I don't fucking know. So now we have another problem. So this bolt, that bracket used to sit underneath this plate in between the frames. So now we're going to need to put a washer in there so that when we torque this down, which this is what holds the winch onto the frame. This is what pulls the entire chassis when you winch yourself out. So we don't want any undue stress on these bolts. We want them to only be doing their job and nothing extra. So we're gonna have to put a washer in there and close that gap up. That's right there. I'm not sure if you can see that, but right here. So now we have that gap. So we need to put a spacer in there. Okay. All right, guys. I'm just assembling the tie rod ends here. So quick little note. The silver ones are regular thread, right-hand thread, and the yellow bolts, or the gold bolts, they're actually marked left-hand. So if you fuck it up, don't strip these. They should spin freely, just like that, okay? So don't force it. And then when you get them on, it's a 3/4 nut driver. You can use this just to, spin them on there. Because you want to start with them kind of all the way down, right? Just gives you a little bit extra leverage. So once you get them like that and you have both of them, then same thing. So one of these is going to be right hand and one of these is going to be left hand. So you just have to make sure that you don't strip them and cross thread them. Be very careful when you do this stuff, guys. You don't want to cross thread stuff. It's really bad because your parts are ruined and you're not going to have a fun day. So take your time and go slow. Aha! They are marked. The reverse thread ones have a line cut in the bottom of them. The regular hand threads are smooth. So they are marked. Just got to know what you're looking for, right? Okay, let me finish these up and then we'll get going. Alright, so these things are a fucking crazy tight fit. So I'm going to chamfer this with the die grinder and make it a little easier on myself. That's what I did on the other one. I finally got one in, so I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Show you guys. So what I'm doing is I'm making a beveled edge, create a ramp essentially, so that it'll go in to the tube on the frame a lot easier. I'm not going to take off the square edge though, because that is where it grips into the frame once you get it hammered in. I'm just going to make about a half-inch bevel all the way around. just to make my life a little easier. Now if you don't have this, you can use a file, obviously. A little bit slower, more tedious, but I recommend everyone gets a die grinder. It's a fucking great tool. It's essentially a giant commercial grade Dremel, but a lot more power. This is for grinding like metal and holes and stuff. If you want to change, if you want to like shape holes and stuff on the inside of things. So now you can see it's got a nice chamfer to it. Yeah, not bad. Okay. All right, so I actually relegated to taking the bumper off so I could get a better angle and use the old trusty block of wood as my hammering surface. So here we go. You can see that chamfer's holding it in there nice. So use the block of wood to even out the impact, and you destroy the wood with the metal sledge instead of your partner. Whoops. Let me switch sides. There it is. So the wood was absorbing a little bit too much of the impact. You want to check and make sure it gets all the way in, all the way around. Looks pretty good to me. Thumbs up. Alright, so what we actually did was we used the block of wood because this is a friction fit to hammer it in this side, and then I got it lined up on the other side. We're going to do the same thing. Oops. Hopefully without knocking out our spacer. Looks like we're good. Check how deep the splines are. Oh yeah, got it a little bit ways more. That looks pretty good. Alright, I'm going to measure, make sure it's even. Alright, so with our square, you can use this as a piece of memory, kind of. So on this side, we have a little less than 1 1/8. A little bit. Okay, just like this one. A little less than 1, so it's got to be, I'm guessing, right at 1 inch. So we'll just keep checking. There's 1 inch. There's 1 inch. Perfect. Okay. All right, there's a preliminary fit, and looks like we got the spacing right on both sides. You can see there's just a little bit of extra threads and just a little bit extra threads. Not exactly even, but good enough. So I'll get these bolts down for these old mounts off, and then we'll put in the new links, measure, and be done. Alright guys, so I actually waited a couple days to shoot the end of this video. You can see the AntiRock's completely installed in there. I didn't actually shoot the video installing the links because, you know, it's pretty fucking easy. You guys should be able to do that. So one quick note, the actual AntiRock arm, you have to pull it all the way out and then tighten, because this bolt needs to be flush on it to prevent it from coming out. And then You can see I actually chose to mount the bolt downwards that clamps the arm on to the actual sway bar itself. That way, if this loosens up, I don't lose the bolt, I only lose the nut if it falls out of there. So just a little quick tip for you guys. I wouldn't recommend doing it the other way, because then if it loosens up, you're going to lose the whole thing. I would do it this way, because then all I have to do is replace the nut on the bolt. But I've been driving it for a couple days with it on here. This second to last setting, there's 5 settings you can do. Obviously, the closer you are, the more the torsion, the less leverage you're going to have over the sway bar. So the sway bar is going to prevent more body lean. It's going to be a stronger sway bar. The further back, the more leverage you have over the sway bar, so it's going to have more flex and you're going to have a little bit more body roll. This position right here is pretty good. It does have quite a bit of body roll, especially like going on freeway on-ramps and stuff that are big circles. But for kind of uneven terrain, like driving through like a drainage ditch type thing, or if one tire hits a bump and the other tire doesn't, it's amazing. Like, I can't believe how good it smooths out the ride compared to the stock sway bar or no sway bar at all. I mean, I used to get like the real heavy duty back and forth roll, and that's completely gone. So I'm kind of considering putting on the rear anti-rock sway bar too, and because I've heard that makes it just that much better. Here's my Jeep, guys, in case you guys haven't seen it. It's a 04 LJ, Poison Spider fenders, rockers. It's got 3.5 Superflex Rubicon Express kit on it, worn bumpers, tire carrier, all the shebang. It's got some goodies on it. I'll do some videos on skid plates and stuff later, but so far so good with the AntiRock. Definitely an excellent upgrade for your Jeep, JK, LJ, TJ, JL, once they make those. I mean, I kind of wish I had done this a lot sooner. It really, really improves the ride quality over uneven terrain. And yeah, Currie makes good stuff. So have a good day, shitheads. See ya.